What's your hotness rating? Hot. All right, when we're back, we're COMP2068. Well, you deserve that one. Winter 2016 semester, and it's week 4, lesson 4, part 2. We just started talking about Express and the Express generator, and we're starting to reformat the folder structure. That's what we're doing here together to show you what I feel is the more optimal folder structure as we go in the course, right? To understand how to reformat and use that Express generator to make sense. Because as is, sometimes you don't know what's going on. Any kind of generator. By the way, there's other generators out there like Yeoman. Yeoman does a great job of installing things like everything from Angular to Express, Mongo, the whole thing, right? Even you're like, what is this doing? Right? Because you don't understand. It really, and a lot of the generators don't give you any documentation at all, right? So you really need to know what's happening with, and then Node in order for you to use a generator. And that's what I'm trying to help you with. Okay, so let's get back into this thing. So we left off, I kind of updated my NPM, right? And let's clear the screen here. And I want to do some Bower installs now, right? So we've got our Bower dependencies set up. I know it's going to go into my scripts lib, and I want to add in Bootstrap, jQuery, and Font Awesome. Those are the 3 things I want to add in, right? So let's do that together. So I'm going to go here and do that. So I'm going to say Bower install jQuery, Bootstrap, Font-Awesome, -- save, all on the same line, right? Are you with me? When I press enter, it's going to go out. Find those modules. Now remember, you might get an error, and there's a way around it because unfortunately what happens is for some of us, for some of the computers in front of you, if you get an error like this saying GitHub not installed or no access or whatever, there's a fix for that. You have to change GitHub so that it doesn't use HTTPS, and then in the school servers, it'll allow you to do it, right? If Bower breaks when it comes to GitHub using HTTPS sometimes in the school environment, just FYI. And there's a fix for that. Who has that problem where it says no access or access denied, GitHub not working or something like that? Okay, cool. If you don't have that, that's great. So what has it done? It's gone out, and now it's populated my scripts lib. Here it is with Bootstrap, Font Awesome, jQuery. And that means that scripts lib, because it's in the public folder, I don't have to say public, I just have to say what we said before. Scripts, lib, Bootstrap, dist, and then in my CSS, that's my CSS path. Let's show you what I'm talking about here for a second. Let's get to make some more room for myself. And I want to look at my index.html or my index.ejs for a second as is. Here's my index.ejs. And notice it's back to plain text. Or let's put it into HTML. Yay. Okay. I want to use my style sheets here, but I want to pick the right path. And I want to use my app.css last. So I want to first put in some code, some stuff that we normally put in, something like CSS section. I want to have that in there for sure. Just kind of a hint there. In the head of my document, I want to have some meta tags, just the regular ones that we normally would put in. Like, for example, when I use my character set, we don't even have this thing, is equal to UTF-8, right? I want to put all that stuff in there. I also want to put in some stuff in here for my name is equal to viewport, right? For responsive design, right? Is equal to width, device-width, comma, initial-scale is equal to 1. Oops, 1. There we go. So I got that meta tag in there. Notice I'm putting all this stuff in that I would normally put in any HTML tag, any HTML file. There's also one other one that I want to get from Get Bootstrap, and I do this a lot because I can't remember it. Get Bootstrap's the new one. I'm trying to remember what happens. Old age, you know how it is. Okay, so go through here, and then under here there is this new meta tag for HTTP equivalent XUA compatible content is equal to IE Edge. I never remember that. Put that under UTF-8 like this. That's under getbootstrap.com under their little template. This is the second meta tag in. Okay, so I've just gone to getbootstrap.com, getting started, and scroll down to get that. So I'm trying to format my stuff so that it uses all the best practices that we get from Bootstrap, right? So when I use my Express app, my portfolio site is going to have I'm going to leverage the full power of Bootstrap and Font Awesome in my files, right? Okay, let's go back to my files here. Cool, cool. I got my CSS section. In here, I got to make my Bootstrap function. And I'm just going to pull this out a little bit so you can see it. So here's where I'm going to put it in. I'm going to say link. And what's my link? Well, I'm going to go into scripts this time instead of content. Scripts, because this is my this is the stuff that comes in from my dependency manager, Bower. Scripts, lib, Bootstrap, and then dist, CSS. And then in there, it's going to be bootstrap min.css, right? So bootstrap.min.css. Yay. Big, long name. If you notice, I'm trying to make it as clear as possible. I've got a big font going on here. That's why I've got a bit of wrap going on. I'm going to take this one, exact same one, copy and paste, and then change from bootstrap.min to bootstrap-theme.min. So I'm going to ask my Bootstrap theme. That takes care of the CSS portion of Bootstrap. I also want Font Awesome, which is the CSS part of Font Awesome. So it's going to be scripts lib Font Awesome CSS. So let's just copy another one of those and change it. Scripts lib, and then after this, it's all different. So font-awesome. .css or /css, and then font-awesome. Again, watch your typing. .min.css. That's the Font Awesome, Bootstrap, and my own custom app.css, which I haven't really done anything with yet. Cool, cool. Got everything good here? How about the bottom of my body? This is where I normally put in all my JavaScript, and I want to do that down here too. So I'm going to put a kind of a seen this before. I'm just telling you where to put it now, right? And then it's script. Put a source in there, which is going to point at, again, scripts, lib, and then this time I want to put in jQuery first. So let's look at the jQuery part to help me. So scripts, lib, jQuery, right? Anyone not understanding what I'm doing here, please put your hand up, because that would be bad. Dist, and then jQuery, jQuery.min.js. And that's that for jQuery. jQuery is going to come first. In order for you to use Bootstrap, you need jQuery. Okay, that's what I'm putting jQuery in first. Okay, cool. The next piece is I need Bootstrap, right? So I'm going to kind of minimize this, go to here. Instead of CSS, I want my JS. So the path is scripts, lib, bootstrap, dist, JS, bootstrap.min.js, right? So it's crazy, right? So let's do that. Script, source, scripts, lib, and it's bootstrap, dist, JS, bootstrap.min.js. Okay, cool. What about if I have my custom libraries that I want? Custom libraries that I want just for my front end. Nothing to do with my back end now. We're talking about front end programming, JavaScript programming, which I can do. Like things like, for example, if I have any kind of custom JavaScript to take care of things on the front end, like jQuery, some kind of anything to do with like form validation, all that kind of stuff, that'll happen to the front end, and I would need a custom file for that. I don't have that in my outline here, but I want to probably put it right into my scripts. So I don't have that. It's not going to be a scripts lib. It's just going to be a scripts and then my app.js. So right click on scripts, put a new file in there. We're just going to call this app.js, which is on the script side in my public folder, on the client side, only serving my front end stuff. Nothing to do with my back end. Okay? And this is just going to be my, in order for me to kick this off, I'm going to use an IFI, right? Because that's the way. Check this out. So we're going to do an IFI. So I'm going to do, the IFI looks like this typically. Right, you remember this syntax? We've kind of tested you on this before, right? So here's my IFI, and inside there, I want to do a console.log that kind of basically says app started. This is on the front end. So all the console.logs we've been doing so far happen on the console, like command prompt, for the back end, right? For the front end, right, all the console.logs happen on the browser, like we normally are expecting, right? So anything I do on the front end happens on the browser, the console.logs. The console.logs in the back end with Node.js happens on the back end inside my command prompt or terminal window, right? Using the same kind of commands, but they're going to different places, depending on what I'm looking at. Okay, cool. So this is my IFI, my immediately invoked function expression, my self-executing anonymous function, right? Whew. Okay, cool. I got to link this file into my index.ejs though, right? So let's check this out. I got to go back here, and after my jQuery and my Bootstrap, I'm going to put in my own custom file, just in case I need that. So script, right? Source. Oops. Right, undo that. Scripts. And then it's going to be app.js, right? Scripts? Or what do you mean, the other stuff? My other stuff? Because it's a script, right? Content is only going to be for my app.css, my styles, my custom style, right? And my scripts for my app.js, this app.js is different than this app.js. This app.js is referring to the client side. Okay, let's test this out as is. There's a lot of change we made, ladies and gentlemen, right? We don't want to mess things up, right? And let's go into one more thing for index agent. To test to see that we're using Bootstrap, let's use some Bootstrap, right? So we're going to go into Bootstrap, and we're going to put in some, we're going to call this main, our module main, and we're going to use the container class in Bootstrap. So we're just type in main.container. I'm using a little bit of emit here, and press, or shortcuts, and press tab. Notice I have a space now for my container class, and I'm going to take this code right here, and I'm going to use my Option key on the Mac or Alt key on Windows machines, and use the arrow key to move my stuff up. Okay, use my Option key on the Mac or my Alt key on the Windows machines with my arrow keys up and down to move anything that's highlighted up and down my code across my editor. Very interesting, neat little function, right? Some extra stuff. Now, one thing I want to do here, because this is my HTML file equivalent, I want to right-click anywhere here, and I want to format my code, which reformats everything into its kind of indenting the proper. So we don't need all this space. Don't need all this space, right? Here's my main container, if you will, my main body, if you will, or my content. And I can do that. I can kind of put a comment in here that says main content. There's my main content. Okay, cool. So this is what's going to be rendered if we did it right. Okay, there's no transpilation here, right? As an example, notice I have 99 plus Git full files that I want to upload, right? 99 plus. My gitignore file, if I look at my gitignore files right here, right? It's not ignoring, notice I'm not ignoring my public scripts lib. If I do that, like I said before, problem is that some files, some cloud services like Azure and Heroku will not know to load your front-end dependencies. So please leave those out of your gitignore file for now. One day that will change. Okay, so lots of changes. Let's test it locally first. So I'm going to, on the command line here, I'm going to clear screen, and I'm going to go nodemon. If I did everything correctly, and if I didn't mess up, then I should get this. Oh man, what happened? This isn't a lot of, oh, port 3000 already in use, which means this is already doing port 3000. Arg! It's already been running the whole time. Let's do that again. Let's just restart. Yay. Nodemon. Good, that's good. And let's go over here and check out what it's going to look like on my local Express site. Just pressing restart or refresh. Yay, that's good. That's a good sign. Look what it's done. Because everything worked, I have, looks like more of a Bootstrap-like interface, right? Let's test this even one more further. Let's add in a nav bar right, in my Bootstrap navbar here in my Express generator, right? So I can see Bootstrap, okay? So for those people who forgot, I got to go to Bootstrap. I'm going to go into all the way to the top where I have components. I'm going to go to the right where I see navbar. Click on navbar. And underneath navbar, notice there's a big code snippet. I want to grab this whole code snippet, copy it. Yay. All right, and I want to go back out to my files here. Notice I will not have to restart my server here because all I'm changing is the front end. I don't have to, no routing is different here. Only my front end is changing, okay? So let's do that. Let's go into my index.ejs, and before my main content and underneath my body, I'm gonna paste my little code snippet that I got from bootstrap.com or getbootstrap.com. It looks big and ugly like this, right? Here's what it does. It's going to add in a navbar, right, by default, and it's going to add in a bunch of stuff that I don't need. So we're going to go in here and take it out. And for Ari, forgive me because I did this earlier in the other class because it's almost very similar to what we're going to do here. They're just doing a mini portfolio site. We're doing a full portfolio site with Express, right? That's the difference, right? So the other class, you're doing a mini one. This is a full one. Okay, let's check this out and see how it does. So I'm going to save that. And I'm going to go back out to my website and go to here just as is and refresh, and I should see a navbar like this. Do you see this? Yes.
I missed what you deleted.
You didn't delete anything yet.
Oh, okay.
Just drag and drop, copy paste. Yeah, nothing. I didn't get rid of anything yet. I will. All right. There's a couple problems. How come I got this space up here? I'll tell you why. Because we have an app.css that's taking place. Let's go clean that up. So go back over here. Go into here. Go into public content app.css. Get rid of all this padding 50 pixels. Right? Get rid of it all. And kill it. Right? And we'll put a little comment in there that says, this is our custom CSS file. We're not going to use it right now, but it's just there. Yay. Let's refresh. That's just on the front end, so we have to make changes. With refresh, we see that bar going the full size now, right? Cool, cool. Here's what I don't want. I don't care about this piece. The link, drop down, the search bar, this button. I don't care about all that. I want all my stuff to be on the right-hand side because that's how I want my app to be. You could certainly do whatever you want here with Bootstrap. I'm just testing it to show you how this works. So I want to get rid of all this. I want to keep my brand. And I want to use a little font in there for my brand. We'll use that font castle that we used in first class for Ari. He was there with me in the other client-side scripting class we did earlier today. But for here, we're going to get rid of all this stuff because this doesn't make any sense to me, right? So I mean, it doesn't make sense for my app. And I want to kind of name these links. We're going to call them exactly what you need for your little app you're making, your Express portfolio site. I want to make a home page. On About Us, services, projects, whatever it's going to be, and a Contact Us. I'm going to make all those links appear on the right-hand side here, right now. All right. Back. I'm going to go back to my index.ejs, right? And now we can delete some stuff. So here's what I do need. I do need this little icon bar piece. Like where it starts off at the top, it says navbar default. This is cool. Container fluid means, in Bootstrap terminology, don't give me any kind of margin on the right or left-hand side. If I have just a regular container class that I'm using, remember, Bootstrap is a CSS framework. So I'm using their CSS library they provide me, not my own right now, right? And that's what gives me superpowers. It makes me look cool, like I know what I'm doing. I don't have to know a lot of CSS to do this. Remember, we're just kind of muting the whole CSS piece for this class, right? So what I'm going to do here is I'm going to say, I need this. This is what that does. It takes away kind of my margins away from my from the actual this particular piece. In my navbar header, I need this piece, and I need the button that gives me this icon. All these icon bars is a class that gives me the bars in the hamburger. Let me show you what I'm talking about. So if I'm using a responsive website, right, and if I crunch up the website to here, notice that I get this little hamburger right here. That's what it's called. If I click onto this, it gives me all my little drop down. The bars that go across the hamburger is these little icon bars. It's just CSS that give me borders that give me those lines. That's what those things are on Bootstrap, right? Okay, so let's go back up there and maximize this thing so it's bigger. Back to normal. Notice it's using Bootstrap breakpoints. So every certain, depending on the size of my screen, it's going to rejig my content so it flows across my different screen sizes. That's why Bootstrap is great, because it's from a responsive design perspective, it works across multiple devices. Okay, so let's get rid of that stuff because I don't like it, and neither do you probably. So my brand is cool. This is where I'm going to put in my icon. I can put an image in here too. This is where your logo should go, under the brand, right? If you're gonna use the nav bar from Bootstrap, you don't have to. I'm just giving you an example. If you're gonna use the nav bar, your brand goes here. Okay, I don't care about this collapsible piece. So this piece, this UL, there's two unordered lists. This one, there's a form, which I don't need for sure, and there's this one down here. This one, the second one, notice that it says nav bar right. Nav bar pushes my content to the right, so all my right links, the links on the right side of my nav bar, that's what this does, and that's what I want to keep. But I want to kill all the rest of it. So how do I kill all the rest of it? I want to kill everything that comes under this thing that says collapse, navbar dash collapse, BS, that's Bootstrap, by the way, example navbar collapse 1. Anything underneath this from here all the way to my form. So from in this particular example, from line 35 to about line 56. Now, it might be not exactly one-to-one for you, but that's where it will be. I'm just going to erase that. And now I have a very much simpler navbar. I have my navbar brand up here with my navbar navbar right. These are the classes that I'm using from Bootstrap. This is a class from Bootstrap, a CSS class. Another one here. Okay, cool. Here's another one. I don't care about this drop-down. Another unordered list within the unordered list, a nested unordered list that gives me a drop-down. Let's get rid of this, right? And now all I'm left with is a single. Actually, I can get rid of all this whole LI. That's what I meant to do. All I'm left with is a single link, right? That says link. Well, let's make this home, right? My home link, and let's give it the LI a class of active, right? So active basically highlights or changes the color of my link to say that this is the active link that I'm on right now, okay? That's what Bootstrap does. Okay, so I'm going to highlight this whole piece here, and I'm going to paste and paste, paste, paste a few links here, right? Get rid of the active link on these ones, because I don't need that. I probably should have done it the other way around, but that's okay. Yeah, just do one of these just as fast. You do it your way, I'll do it my silly way. There we go. Okay, and then once I've adjusted this, so it's home, about me, right, as an example, or a bio, some kind of, oops, maybe about me should be here. There we go, about me. There should be, projects, services, and contact me, right? So here's my contact me page. So this is kind of an more accurate kind of setup for your assignment number 1, right? For your structure. Okay, cool. So I've got all that. Save. And one other thing I want to do is I want to, in my brand, because my brand, that logo of my brand is just showing the word brand, right? I want to use Font Awesome to put a little icon in there, an icon font, right? So let's look at Font Awesome and see what that is. So I'm going to go to Font Awesome. And Cindy's losing. I'm losing Cindy already. She's going, oh, God. Here we go. What's Tom doing? All right. Font Awesome. I'm going to go to icons, right? And I want to look for something that, I don't know. I use this morning. I'll use the same thing. It says Fort Awesome here. I like Fort because it looks like a little castle. Right? Why not? And I want to use this thing. And if you notice, it gives me the code, right, for my font. Because I've linked Font Awesome. I can use this little font here, right? So I'm just going to copy this I tag, go back to my code, and replace my brand with the I tag. And I know that it's too small because I did this earlier today. So I'm going to go, an additional class that you can include with Font Awesome is FA-large to make it larger. So a larger font, okay? Wow, that's a lot of changes. That's a great time for GitHub, right? I made some changes, right? And I also add, let's make a commit. I got 99 plus commits to do, added some or changes to do. Let's go in here and do that. right? I'm going to clear the screen, and I'm going to go git add dot, lots of changes, git commits -m, and I'll say added Bootstrap and font awesome. I don't care about jQuery, that's just an enabler. Okay, lots of files I added in there. Now I'll do a push, git, what the hell? I won't do a push hit, I'll test it first. So I'll do nodemon, there's my nodemon, and I'll go back out to, if you've done everything correctly, I'll go back out to here to express and press refresh. And now I've got this. This is my little app that's happening right now, right? So I've got my little castle. That'll be your little logo. Should be probably here. And again, you can put it anywhere you want. You can put your logo in the middle. You can do all kinds of stuff with your custom CSS. It's up to you, right? I'm making it like this because hey, it's easy. Now there's no color on this thing. It's just a blank, example of how I can do this, right? So here's my home, about me, contact me, my services page, all this kind of stuff here. Notice that I'm in my home page and it's not going anywhere and there's no routing right now. But I've got my page and it's fully responsive. If I go like this, then it turns into the hamburger and I get my links here. Right, so that's pretty cool. That's what Bootstrap does. So we've got a fully responsive Bootstrap enabled, site, index.ejs. Are you with me? Let's test it on Azure. This is the time to test it because now I've done some testing locally, right, in my development environment, and I want to send it to my production environment, which is Azure. I'm going to push to GitHub. Let's do it. So I'm going to stop this. I'm going to go git push origin master. And if everything goes well, because I haven't made any other changes, it's going to go up on GitHub and push all my changes up on GitHub. It's going to take a few minutes, and when I'm done, this would qualify for everything you need for your lab 3. Everything we've done here, if you did lab 3 and you set this up, it'd be good enough because now you've done a we've kind of revamped our Express app. There's more. We can do more. We're going to do more before we leave. Let's do more, right? Because this is just one piece. I want to break up my index.ejs into pieces. I want to break up that index.ejs file. I want to make a head. I want to make a footer. And I want to make a content, right? That's what I want to do. How do I do that, right? Okay, first let's check out and see if it works on Azure. So I'm going to bring up Azure. Here's the old site, COMP2068, winter 2016, lab 3, and refresh. Did it work? What the hell? Yeah, it worked, right? How about on Heroku, right? For Heroku, let's see if it worked too. Refresh. Yeah, worked there too, right? So it's on Heroku, it's on Azure, it's working nice, and it's fully responsive, right? Questions so far? Please stop me if I went too crazy, right? Remember, it's all being recorded anyway, but yes. It's going to help you out. If he doesn't, I'll come over and help do it after, okay? Anyone else? If you have doubts or if you have a problem, please look at my GitHub repository. It's on there for you to look at as well as we go. So if you miss something, if I have a different structure than you, you can always compare mine with yours, right? So go up on github.com, Georgian College, look at COMP2068, Lab 3, right? And in there, you'll see all of my files and the entire file structure that's up on GitHub. Okay? All right, we need to make some additional changes because this is good, but we need to make it great, right? And we make it compatible for us so that we don't have to redo all this work we just did. We just did a lot of work with nav bars. We did a lot of work with, with our stuff. This is nuts. I don't want to do this for every single file. Imagine if I do this for an index file, my content, my contact page, my app. I have to make different pages. What if I make one change? It'll break my navigation. I want to have one navigation file and then I can loop into all the other files. Let's try this out. So in order for us to get an idea of what to do, we can look at things like EJS templating, right? So if I go to EJS, so it's called embedded JS, right? There are some examples of how you can do things like run code. Here's a piece of code you can run. Notice that we use the angle brackets, so angle percent angle, right? And anything we put in there, we can run a piece of code inside. We can actually run JavaScript inside of our HTML document to give additional dynamic functionality, right? That's one. We also want to be able to do things like include, right, different parts of our files. Break it up into something called partials, right? So if I was going to go to documentation, sometimes they have some really good documentation. Sometimes the documentation really, I don't want to say what, right? Sometimes we have some pretty good wikis here, like templates wiki, right? And they talk here about rendering and how to put things together. But what I really want to look for is how to do partials in EJS. So that's what I'm going to search for. So I'm going to say EJS. What is going on today? EJS partials. It's like it's listening to me or something. Okay, EJS partials. So how do I do including a partial and thing? I'm just looking at Stack Overflow here, and we need to use this syntax. Take a look. So less than %, and we look see that there's a minus here. I don't even think I even need that. Include keyword, and the partial that you're including, right? Just for an example of that, if you go to includes, here's a really good example of include. Notice that there's no minus. That's just a typo, right? So I'm including a particular object that is part of my template. Okay, so how do I do that? I'm going to break up my file, my partial into another partials folder. Let's make a partials folder first. Let's do that. Okay, so this is where we need to do that. I'm going to go back into here under views, make a new folder called partials. Under partials, let's create a new partial called head, right? What am I going to include in my head? I definitely want to include, what the hell is going on here? This keeps popping up. Head. Let's see if I do that again, if it comes up. I want to make a partial called head. I don't know. I'm trying to think. Somehow it's listening to me. It's going to come up. I don't know. It's bizarre. It's just coming up on its own. So I want to do this. I want to do this, and in order for me to make a partial called head, right? I want to know what I'm going to include and not include. So let's take a look at our file that we have, and I'm going to ask you some questions. Do I want to include Bootstrap on everything that I have, all my modules? You'd say yes, right? Okay, cool. Do I want to have this nav bar on everything that I have, right? Chances are, yeah, I would. Now there's a problem. The problem is my active LI, right? My active LI is going to show which site I'm on, right? And that should change, right? So how do I to detect what the name of the file is, what the name of the site is that I'm on, and depending on the site name, I can change my active class to something else. Don't ask me what's going on here. I have no clue. It's just my headphones. I don't know. If that makes any sense. And it's not even running. It's like I got nothing here. Let's see if I can force quit something. I don't think there is anything to force quit even. It's like just wonky today, right? So let's see if we can do that. So I need to split this piece, this whole piece here, from the doc type HTML all the way down to about here at the beginning to nav. And my main content is the only piece that I want in my index.html. The bottom piece, all this JavaScript stuff, I want this to be in my footer. So I have a header.ejs and a footer.ejs that I want to create. Let's make those files now. So I'm going to right click, new file, header.ejs, right? And I'm just making space for the footer. So I'm going to make a footer.ejs. Okay, cool. Keep in mind what the file path is, partials, right? And where I'm sitting right now in my index.ejs. So in my views, in my index.ejs, it's going to point to partials footer.ejs. That's the path it's got to use. Don't worry about the included and all that stuff. That's something totally different, okay? Let's cut and paste from our index.ejs to form our partials. So I'm going to take my doc type, just ignore it. Don't know why it's doing that. And all the way down into here to my nav bar, to the end of my nav bar, cut it. Go to my partial, right, which is in my footer, header, and paste. We'll fix the other problem in a second. Let's just make this our EJS from or HTML. So it gives us some code hinting, all the same code hinting. And the same thing for our footer. I'm going to go back into index.ejs and take the bottom piece, all this stuff here, cut it, right, and go back into my footer and paste it. And we can make that into HTML as well. Yay. Okay, let's save all because I want to save everything so we're good. Okay, now how do I fix my index.ejs? Well, I need to use the syntax that we saw. So I'm going to do something like this. Angle bracket percent include, and then the path, partials, right? And then forward slash, right, header.ejs, all right? And then percent angle bracket. And then on the bottom, if everything goes well, percent include partials, and then we'll go footer.ejs, and then percent angle bracket. Save. Let's make sure that this is HTML because Visual Studio Code doesn't know what it is. Save everything. I'm good, right? So I've saved it all. Let's make sure I save all. And let's test it locally, right, before I put it up remotely. That would be bad if we tested it remotely. So I'm going to do nodemon. It's looking like it's OK. Let's take a look and see what I get up here when I refresh. Well, we're so far so good. Let's see what we get on nodemon. Nodemon, what it goes out is it's going to go out, take a look what it's doing, and it's getting everything that I've asked for. My Bootstrap, my font awesome. This is good. 304s are good. That's a good solution, right? We're getting these files. And also, if I right-click and if I do a inspect, right, and if I look at my console, I should see app started. That's a good sign, right? I can also see what sources I have. If I click sources, right, I can see what my combined file will look at. Take a look. So my combined file looks like a regular HTML file, right? But really what I'm doing is I'm taking the partials. This is what the template engine does. I take these pieces, right? So I've got 3 pieces. My index.ejs, my header, and my footer. Smashing them all together and making out, I'm rendering my final index.html file. That's what it's doing, right? When I use templating, right? Just like we do in PHP, just like we do in ASP.NET, just like we do in a lot of other systems. There's nothing different here that you haven't seen before, is what I'm saying, okay? And this, my friends, is one of the requirements of your assignment 1. It's asking you to make a couple of templates. I have a template called index, and it's for my landing page. But maybe I need another one for my contact page because I need a form. I need the same nav bar, and I need the same other things, right? All the other things I need, but I don't need some of the other pages that I have. Now, here's a problem. My page right now, it shows my index, and I have no routing. I need to fix that. Let's make another route for my About Me page, right? Or one of these pages, Contact Me or About Me. Let's make one so we can see what I'm talking about. First, knowing that this worked, I'm going to deploy to GitHub because I know that I'm good locally. So I'm going to kind of Control-C, stop this. I'm going to git add dot, git commit -m, because I've made a big change here, right, to my partials. And I'll say added EJS partials. And then I know what that means. And then I'll git push origin master. So you guys can see it on GitHub too, just in case you missed it. Right? So you see what I did. Now, for someone doing a single page site, you might ask, well, why would I need to do that? Right? Why would I break up my file if I'm making a single page site? Well, you wouldn't, but it's not bad practice to split it off because you can include different partials depending on what you click on, right? So just keep that in mind. All right, so that's good. So we deployed onto GitHub. You should have that working. Let's test it to make sure that it runs on Azure, right? So I'm going to go back on Azure, and here's Heroku. Refresh. We're good. And here's Azure. Refresh. Be careful because sometimes it breaks, right? And let's inspect to make sure we got the right thing. Here's my console. Now, see this stuff here where it says failed to load resource, and I got a web font for font awesome and all this kind of stuff. It's okay to ignore that. Sometimes you're going to get that, and if I reload again, you know, I'll still get it. But looking for these inside my specific path, which is going font scripts lib. Look what's looking scripts lib font awesome fonts, and then this font file. So we have to address these later on. These little inconsistencies. If I go back over here to my Heroku and I go inspect though, and I don't get any of those problems at all, right? Azure has a funny way of interpreting things sometimes. I'm just pointing them out so you know. there's some inconsistencies between different host providers because of the way they interpret Node. All right. Okay, cool. We've done this. We've got it going and everything else. We've broken it up into piece parts. That's good. Let's add a route, and then we're done. We've done I've mission accomplished for you guys today. So kind of covered the whole gamut of how to customize, at least from a first level perspective. If you were like a character, like in web programming, right? Like this would be like you'd be like level 3 right now. Okay, you're still low level if you're playing Dungeons and Dragons, right? If you want to be level 9, like truly a master, like character or whatever, starting to get in there, you have to do more customization on the on your folder structure font. Let's try this out. So we got partials, we got views, which is good. We've added stuff. Let's add a route. So I'm going to go into now. This is the back end, which means I have to restart my server in order to make this this work. Next week, what I'm going to do is all this stuff, routes and views. I'm gonna put views in their proper place, right? Where do you think they should go? By the way, the back end views, not front end views. Even though we're making them a front end, they really belong to Express, so they need to go on the server side. Front end views that are hosted by things like Angular would go on the front end, and they would go inside the public folder, right? Just from an organizational perspective, right? Even though it sounds funny, even though it's called views, we're still doing that model view controller, separation of concerns. But views, in this particular case, because we're using EJS templating, traditionally go inside of a server folder. So how do I do that? How do I make a server folder that encapsulates routes, views, right? My app.js and my server.js. How do I do that? Or do I do that? Now, I would never do that with the server.js. It wouldn't run, right? But my app.js, I could put my app.js inside my server, a server folder, right? In fact, I could put everything else inside of a server folder, and it wouldn't be affected at all. The only thing that would change is my route to my public. So there's some changes I have to make it all jig, right, properly, from a routing perspective, a pathing. Okay, let's check this out. So I want to add another route. It's under routes. I have an index.ejs, and I have an example of a route right here. Here's my get homepage route, right? I want to do another route. So let's just copy this one. And underneath that, I want to change this so it shows me the next route. And let's make it so it's the About Me page. So we'll call it About. Okay, that's the About route. And instead of using index, which is my first template, my index template, right? I could use my index template too, because all I'm saying is for my index, it says Express on Azure, and all I got to do here is I can use the same template because it's just same template, right? I mean, all it's going to show me is a different title, let's say. And I can put in there, instead of Express on Azure, I can say About Me, right? So I'm not really pointing at anything else. All I've done is created a new route. And so if I go About, it's going to show me the route. Okay, let's show this out. So if I go back to here to test this route, right, I need to restart my server. So I'm going to go back here and run nodemon. I haven't uploaded to Azure yet. I'm just testing it locally. Refresh. And in here, instead of the slash here, I'm going to go slash, then it's About, and press Enter. And notice it says About Me. Did you get what I did there? Anyone not understand? Please. I just created another route. So when I go to my About page, it shows me a different route. I could also render a different template. Let's do that for the contact page, because that's what I asked you guys to do anyway. So how do I create a different template? Well, that's pretty easy to do. This is on the front end, so I don't have to worry about it. So under my route, actually it would affect the back end too. So I would have to reset. On my views, I'm going to right click and add a new file, and I'm going to call this view my contact.ejs, right? It's like my index.ejs. I'm going to copy all this. But one thing I want to put in my contact, right, as an example, is some kind of form, right? That's different than my main page, right? So I'm still going to accept the title. I want that, that's for sure, right? My welcome to, I'll put that in there as well. But underneath there, I want to make a change. So in my main content, I want to have a form. And there's a good example of a form up on getbootstrap.com, right? So if I go getbootstrap.com, and if I want to look at some form components, so I go down to see some forms or whatever. Let's take a look. Now, walls, buttons, drop downs, maybe under CSS. Go to CSS, tables, forms. There we go. Forms. Here's a form snippet right here. There we go. I'm just going to cut and paste, guys. I'm not even going to look and see what this is. Just an example, right? We can make this out to work later. So I'm going to copy this whole thing, this whole form right here, which is under CSS forms under getbootstrap.com. So I found this template under the CSS link. So CSS, and then I click forms for people. Well, if I went too quick for you guys, then I just copy this thing. So it's going to look like this. Okay, cool. I'm going to take this little template, go back into my my engine over here, and under outside of my main, I think I probably need to put it outside of my main. I'm going to go down here and just copy and paste my form. Let me see. Now I have to put it in main. Let's undo that. I'll put it in main, because otherwise it's not going to be centered properly. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to take this, change this to HTML so I can modify it. There we are. And I'm going to do some format code so that it formats properly so it looks nice, right? And I've got a new partial. I got a new template. This is a new template. It's different than a partial in that it has my content is different, right? It's different than my partial. I include the same header and footer, but my partial is my footer is different, or my content is different. Okay, cool. I need to change my route. So in my index, I don't have a route for contact. Let's add a route. So I'm going to copy and go in here and go paste. Notice that I've got my about page. Let's make some comments here so that we know what they are. So we're going to go, so instead of get home page, get about page, right? And then over here, this is my get my contact page. You get where I'm going, right? And this is going to say contact me instead of, that's one of the titles, right? My contact page. And my index, it's not going to look at index, it's going to look at contact. So a different template, two templates that are the same from my about me and from my main page, my landing page. This is my landing page with the /, right? And this about me page is, or my contact page, sorry, I got to change the route for my contact page, is going to point to my contact template, which is right here. In order for me to make this work, I got to save the file. I'm going to go back in here and restart my my router. Okay, let's test it to make sure it works. So back out to here, right? And I'm going to go back to just the first page here to test to see if it works. Press on Azure. I can't click these links because my nav bar doesn't work, but I'm going to go into physically put it in here into the title. So I'm going to say contact, and now I got a contact page, right? Lickety split. Like that, right? Now this is just templating. I have to modify this contact page so it looks like what for me. I may have to put an address in there, maybe some other information. Maybe I want to put in some social media icons. It's okay, you guys can come in. I got another minute or so to go. Whatever you want to put in the contact me page is totally up to you, right? So kind of mission accomplished here. One more thing I got to mention is my home page doesn't move, right? And my nav bar doesn't work. So let's make my nav bar work before we go. So one thing I need to do is go into my partials under my header. Notice that I can look at my plain text and change it to HTML. And inside my bar, notice I have my href from my about me and my home. I can actually put in there / right, if I want to. And for about me, I can put in about. And over here for my contact page, contact. And this is on the front end, so I have nothing to do. There's nothing to reset. I'm just resetting my front end, right? So if everything works well, and it may not, right? And if I go back and refresh, notice how if I click on my about page, it should take me to about me now. If I go to my contact page, it should click and take me to my contact page. And when I go home, it takes me to my home page, right? So all those pieces are all done through my partials, right? So I got two partials, header and footer, my main content, I got two templates, my index.html, index.ejs, and I've got my contact.ejs, which is hit your requirements, right, for your final. And I've created this stuff on Azure. Let's just update Git, and we're done. So I want to say git add dot git commit minus M, and we're going to say added contact and about me pages. And then git push origin master, which is going to push it up to GitHub. And again, because we pushed up to GitHub, because it's connected with Azure, it's going to auto deploy right to Azure on the cloud. And here it is. Let's check this out, how fast it is. Refresh. We're good, almost. There it is. And if I click About Me, it goes to my About Me page. And on Heroku, refresh. And if I click Contact Me on Heroku, still waiting for Heroku to catch up a little bit. If I click Contact Me on Heroku, it'll work eventually as well. Just bear with it. Questions before we go? Okay, thanks so much. Good luck on your assignment number 1. It's due next week, Wednesday at midnight. Content? Yes, you would. You have to use About You, right? It's your portfolio website.
You're not continuing that website.
Which one?
Assignment 1 will be just
No. It's going to be, we're going to build on assignment 1. Right? Thank you for waiting.